Well, India and Sri Lanka, two nations that are joined in ways more than just one. They have the shared culture, they have shared past and shared borders also. It is incumbent on both of them to stay close and operate even closer. Giving a fillip to the bilateral ties, Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe is in India. He will be meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The focus of the visit is to finalize several investments supported by India, especially in energy, infrastructure and tourism sector. Wickremesinghe, elected to tackle Sri Lanka's economic crisis, has made significant progress in stabilizing the economy since the country defaulted on its sovereign debt in April 2022. The timing of this visit is opportune for both countries. India is emerging as a strong alternative to China for global investments with a thriving manufacturing sector and ambitious trade agreement.
We have discussed with Sri Lanka issues of how closer economic cooperation, how our growth of our economy, they can benefit from there, how we can discuss common security issues, how we can discuss common areas of development cooperation, new projects, how Indian investments can be involved. As you know, we've also been helping them or have helped them in, with the economic problems that have happened in the earlier this year. And I think this will be a good base to take forward our conversation. This is the first visit of President Ranil Wickremesinghe as president. He's of course been here a number of times, and we look forward to the visit to impart a new momentum to the relationship.
And to discuss the matters further, India-Sri Lanka ties, we are joined by Professor Rajan Kumar, foreign policy expert, and Major General retired Ashwini Sivach, defense and geopolitics expert. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking time out for News9 Live. Really appreciate it. Let me begin with you, Professor Rajan. Talking in terms of neighborhood foreign policy, it's not so far away that it could become foreign because we have almost shared boundary and shared culture also. How important do you see this visit by Ranil Wickremesinghe to India?
Thank you, Pankaj Mishra-ji, for having me here. I think this is extremely important because Sri Lanka is not necessarily the part of foreign policy or international politics the way we see with Russia or United States. Sri Lanka is very much part of domestic politics in India also, and we'll come to that later. But for the time being, India is very important for Sri Lanka because, Sri Lanka is going through a very difficult period. Sri Lanka is facing the crisis, economic crisis, you know that. And this year, inflation is roughly 30% there. The economy is going to contract about 3%. And the state has to kind of plan something where it can increase the taxes, get some money for investment. Many of the countries which were traditional allies of Sri Lanka, they are not coming forward, and that's why India's importance has increased. And I'm referring to China, which has invested heavily in Sri Lanka. So I see India-Sri Lanka relations from 3-4 perspectives. One is, of course, the history, culture, which is extremely important from India's perspective. But the most important at the moment is security, is the economic issue, because, we need to have political and economic stability in Sri Lanka. Because if we do not have, then we'll have situation like 1980s, where other powers will start playing a very important role. And in today's world, China has already started playing a very important role. We cannot allow that to happen. And we are providing assistance to Sri Lanka. India has provided roughly $4 billion of assistance, some in the form of loan and some also in the form of aid, etc. And very interesting, offer that has come from Sri Lankan President Wickremesinghe, that Sri Lanka can adopt the national currency exchange, where we can trade in the national currency. How far India will go in implementing that kind of thing is not very clear at the moment. But yes, Sri Lanka is, as I said, Sri Lanka is extremely important. And one important statement which was given by our External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar some time back, where he's saying that we'll not be waiting for others, but we will do whatever is right. So basically, he was referring to that India is there to help Sri Lanka, and China may help, may not help. But India is not only providing loans and assistance to Sri Lanka, but it is also helping Sri Lanka mobilize funds from through the IMF and also through other countries like Japan, etc. So economy is extremely important, and the second important is the domestic politics. And I'll take just 2 minutes to finish this aspect because this is very important.
Right.
And even Stalin, the Tamil leader, the leader of our state, Tamil Nadu, he has written to the Prime Minister of India that there are certain issues related to fishermen, implementation of the 13th Amendment. And 13th Amendment refers to the devolution of power in Sri Lanka, and which was a part of India-Sri Lanka Accord, which was signed in 1987 after the IP issue that you know. So the 13th Amendment is an important issue, but also there are issues related to some of the, because after the crisis that we saw in the first decade of the century when LTT issue and the civil war in Sri Lanka, and it was ruthlessly suppressed by the government there. So after that, many of the powers were taken away from the Tamil population there. And that has been kind of issue between Tamil Nadu and also Sri Lankan government. And Tamil Nadu government has always been pushing for the implementation of that 13th Amendment in Sri Lanka. And I think there will be discussion, but I do not expect much because also let's remember that Ranil Wickremesinghe is just one member. From the party, he's the only representative in the parliament there. So he had his ruling because of the support of Rajapaksa, the previous ruler. That is an issue, and also the issue of fishermen, because a large number of fishermen from Tamil Nadu have been arrested, detained, not allowed to fish, etc. So that is an issue from the domestic politics perspective, and of course we can talk about the security issue, China, etc. later.
Right, Professor Rajan. Obviously, a whole gamut of issues here when it comes to Sri Lanka, no matter how close they are, but the issues that you have rightfully listed. Since Professor Rajan has set the tone with the elephant in the room, China, Major General Sivaj, obviously, even where should we begin with? Talking about, say, Hambantota Port to Colombo Port, talking about the debt trap, Belt and Road Initiative, a very tricky situation as far as the security aspect is concerned, especially in the Indian Ocean.
Absolutely. Pankaj, there's no doubt about it. You see, there are 3-4 things stands out as far as India-Sri Lanka relation is concerned. And India-Sri Lanka relations are going to be seen with the lens of the China in Indo-Pacific and Indian Ocean. No doubt, as far as the China is concerned, it is spreading its wings in Indian Ocean, and not only Sri Lanka is the one which is part of Belt Road Initiative. Other smaller countries, almost all have become part of Belt Road Initiative other than India. And China has very cleverly put a string of balls around India. Now, if you see it from Myanmar, the Tuakapu Port and Coco Islands, then as far as Bangladesh is concerned, it is Chittagong, and then Sri Lanka is Hambantota, then one of the island of Maldives, then Djibouti in East Africa, and then Gwadar. So if you see it, that very cleverly China has surrounded India. And as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, the Sri Lanka was playing the card of China for too long, until unless it has been hit by the economic crisis. And that is the time when the China did not help it out. It is the India which came forward and gave them a loan and aid more than about $5 billion. And that has basically, by India giving that loan, the IMF was then encouraged to give them a further loan, and they have by and large come out of that economic crisis. Now they're on the path of recovery. But having said so, I say that as far as China is concerned, China is a big threat to us, and Sri Lanka to some extent has played a China card well, and that is not to our liking, especially when they have given Hambantota for 99 years of lease. That means that even their military ships can come there. It is very difficult to check whether it is a commercial ship or a military ship. The fact that Hambantota is a 99-year lease and very close to the southern part of the country, it is a threat which will remain looming large for years to come. So another issue is that the cooperation which was going between Sri Lanka and China was also a cause of concern to us. They are in a debt trap. The 20% of their GDP is the debt of the Chinese. The Chinese have invested heavily there in Sri Lanka. Of course, India has also invested. Now we are the largest trade partner, but certainly Sri Lanka has been always under the shadow of the Chinese, and that is where we have to be very, very careful when we are dealing with Sri Lanka, and we have to make sure in time to come as to how do we take out Sri Lanka from away from China in a manner that Sri Lanka is slightly sensitive to the security requirement of India. And that is what is the challenge, and that's what we want to do. Now, the point which comes is a number of weapon systems also which been taken over a period of time. They are of Chinese origin. And now India is trying to again bring back Sri Lanka very close to India by, a number of exercises we are conducting with Sri Lanka. Three things which are very important as far as India Sri Lanka is concerned is, one is the renewable energy, second is the infrastructure, third is the tourism. Now, if you see tourism, the maximum tourists going is from India. So therefore, the economy of Sri Lanka is dependent on India to quite a bit extent. And also, as far as the renewable energy is concerned, whether it is Adani or whether it is Tata's, they have invested heavily there. So as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, it is under our shadow. But we have to make sure that it should not be one-way traffic. It should not be give and take. It should be, both-way traffic, in the sense they should also able to contribute in our economy, because as on today, our supply chain are the strongest, and we have a resilience in the supply chain. After what has happened in COVID-19, the supply chains have moved away from China, and they have come in India, also Indonesia, Vietnam. And this is where we must make use of it, that we must able to invest more in Sri Lanka, make sure that Sri Lanka is more dependent on India, and also the relationship of China, when Sri Lanka sees it, it must be concerned with the sensitivity of India. Pankaj.
Right. Major General Sivaj, now obviously, the key aspects that you mentioned are one of the many axes that India-Sri Lanka ties are banking on as of now. Let me also welcome Ambassador Manju Seth, former diplomat. Thank you, Manjuji, for taking time out and speaking to us. Two gentlemen with us, Professor Rajan Kumar and Major General Ashwini Sivaj. Both of them have underlined the very pertinent factor that actually makes India a little worried is the Chinese factor when it comes to Sri Lanka. Beyond that, though, in diplomatic parlance, how best a situation can be dealt vis-a-vis India and Sri Lanka when both of them are neighbors, yet the distance at times looks a lot between them, because thanks to our neighbors again.
Sometimes I think what happens is that neighbors are, if you look around our neighborhood, all our neighbors are relatively smaller economies, smaller countries. I think that also makes an impact on the relationship sometimes, because they think that they need to have be very independent of India. That's what we have been seeing all around. But this visit of the president clearly underlines that the relationship is strong, it is robust, and his visit after a year, after the real chaos that there was in Sri Lanka and the protests, and it was really a very sad situation, the economic crisis, the debt, getting out of the IMF, getting IMF to bail them out a little bit. India also helped. So all that, I think, has been has played a part in making Sri Lanka also understand. And of course, India also, that, this relationship is very important from the security angle, from the neighborhood first policy, from every angle, including, as you mentioned, and as other panelists mentioned, from the China angle also, because China has been very, very assertive in the neighborhood. It has been very, very in a kind of mode to size India in a way, if you see, by strong relationships in the neighborhood, and with Sri Lanka as well. And Sri Lanka has realized now that it has taken on more than it could chew, so to speak. The sheer burden of the debt on it, and including it having to part with the Hambantota port, it's literally parted with it for 99-year lease. So it has become, so I think Sri Lanka is cognizant of what is happening, and it would like to rebuild its ties with India, and it is an important for India also. It's an important
Absolutely.
neighbor.